I'm really excited to be talking to my next guest, but before I introduce him, I wanted to read something. This is a quote from Dan Crenshaw. I wish more Americans understood the dangerous world we live in. I wish more understood how fragile the system is that gives you all of life's comforts and freedom. Chaos spreads easily and quickly, as history shows over and over. Leaving evil alone doesn't make it go away. Thank God there are brave men willing to raise their right hand and take these dangers and protect our way of life. My next guest has an amazing story. U.S. Navy SEAL, retires, then decides he wants to go to college and walk on and play D1 football. My next guest, I'm so excited to introduce him. His name is Tom Hruby. And Tom, welcome to my podcast.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me.
So I'm excited to talk to you. For those people that don't know, I met you in 2019 at the Chris Kyle Frog Foundation Gala. You were one of the speakers, and I don't know if you realized when you were talking to that group of people that people would be really keyed in on what you were saying, and every word that you spoke, I got more and more interested in your story, and I was so inspired afterwards. I can't believe it took me this long to want to help share your story, but hearing you speak that night, I was so inspired, and I was so glad that I met you that night. So it's nice to finally talk to you again after a few years. For those that don't know, you joined the Navy and you were a Navy SEAL. And as a Navy guy myself, I'm a little biased. I love the SEALs, baddest guys on the planet. But, what did you do before you joined the Navy?
Well, thanks, Joe, for that wonderful introduction. I was practicing to be the baddest dude that I possibly could be. Uh, I think I was trying to imitate the Roadhouse as best as possible. I say that because I just watched the trailer for the remake of the Roadhouse this morning. I watched your podcast with Julie Michaels a couple of days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was, of course, I was interested to see what that would look like. And I thought it looked pretty good. I thought Jake Gyllenhaal looked really good. It has a different vibe for sure. But I thought it looked like it was going to be a pretty exciting ride, that movie and that character. I like the character as well, right?
Right.
It's a pretty interesting, cool, fun character. So I was actually, it's funny that I watched that because that's kind of what I was doing. I was training mixed martial arts. I had a few years of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I had been wrestling for a long time, and I started professionally fighting in the Chicago region, mixed martial arts. And that was kind of like my, for me, my personal empowerment trip to ultimately make the decision that I thought I was capable of making as a Navy SEAL, really. So I used MMA as my sort of stepping stones to feel confident enough. So after winning a few mixed martial arts fights, I finally had the courage to go in and sign the paperwork and raise my right hand. Like Dan Crenshaw says, which I actually was in buds with Dan Crenshaw. We were both in the same class together. He was my officer. I ended up getting rolled out of my class, 264, and ended up graduating with class 266. He was in 264 and graduated with class 264. I think he graduated 264. He may have got rolled also to 265, but I'm not certain about that. But he was just, one of the, just like you guys know him now, this really awesome, wonderful, cool, he was an enlisted man's, favorite officer. you know, always ready to get down and dirty, work hard, kick ass. He was on the, you know, every deployment, he was right there in the front lines with the guys, obviously. And he's just a really great guy. I love everything about him. And it's cool that you brought that quote up because it's so true, right? I mean, it's so very true that, you know, in every aspect of our lives, we have to make a choice whether we're going to stand up for what's right or what's good, or, you know, we're going to stand up for justice, and we're going to make choices that represent that over and over and over and over and over again. You know, some of us decide to raise our hands, but at the same time, I always say, you know, everybody, you know, and we're, you and I being, you know, out of the service now, we're kind of in the realm of now we got to give military members a reason to raise their hand. You know, that's how I look at it now. Like, what is being done here in our country that makes me and makes the next generation of young servicemen willing and you know, decide that this is something that they want to sacrifice and risk their lives for. Right? We have to give them a beautiful place, which America is that.
Right.
It is the beacon of that, is the beacon of freedom and happiness and, you know, of choice, and we get to make our own dreams and follow them. And that's why I did decide, hey, we need to protect this. It's important that it's protected. And for some crazy reason, I felt like it was my responsibility, you know, and I was going to put it all on my own head and go chase after saving the world. But I think, you know, I was one of many that felt that way, particularly at that time, you know, a couple years after 9/11.
So did you always want to be a SEAL?
I always wanted to be I always loved like being a warrior. All right. So I love the idea of being, you know, an Indian warrior running through the forest, you know, the opening scenes of, you know, Last of the Mohicans, right? Daniel Day-Lewis running through the woods with a long gun. You know, Legends of the Fall imagery, like, you know, that was the kind of stuff I grew up on. So I'd always wanted to kind of just be this tip of the spear, and I guess special forces was probably the only way to get there, I suppose.
Right.
But I wanted to be in the Army at first. My parents really talked me out of it when I was in high school, suggesting I go to college. I tried that out, didn't like that. So shortly afterwards, I came across becoming a Navy SEAL, and it was kind of hard to resist. You look at the advertising, you search it up on the internet a little bit, read about it. For anybody that's looking for a really wild time and a great adventure and to challenge yourself and to be a part of something very special, and at the same time to be at the tip of the spear, to experience, you know, what I thought combat or war or battle or, you know, confronting our nation's enemies looked like to me. You know, that was the way to get there, and to get there fast. You know, how could I get there quickly too? You know, you're young and you're just so filled with ambition, and all I wanted to do is get to war so quickly. You know, but I also wanted to understand, you know, what the hell's going on in the world. You know, the world was a crazy place. You know, it has been, it always has been. But that was the first time where I noticed it. 2011 happened. I was, or 2001, I was 19 years old. And shortly after that, I started looking at the world, wondering why is it like this? Where did this come from? What is this chaos? Why are we fighting? Who's attacking us? You know, these questions you don't have when you're 16, 14 years old. And so the first time I started wondering what's going on, and, you know, how do you understand these things? Where do I need to go in order to understand why the world looks the way that it does? So I figured, hey, I could both go to war, I could become a Navy SEAL, and I could go learn the answers to some of these questions about why we're doing the things we're doing. And others are doing.
It went pretty crazy there in 2001, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you talked about when you were in Buds. I went to high school with a guy that was a SEAL, and he simplified Buds to me about, he just told himself, I want to get to the next meal. How did you make it through Buds? What did you do to yourself psychologically? Because I mean, we've all seen the videos, and I'm sure most people have. I mean, but how did you psychologically get through buds?
Yeah, it blows my mind that I would ever be able to come up with a mind concept that would get me through buds sitting here now. Imagining going back now at this age, my body the way it is, my life the way it is. It's like, it just seems like an absolute impossibility. There would be no way that I would make it through today, right? That's what I sit and think. So when I try to imagine what it was like, I remember one of the really significant concepts that I came across was that I really had to feel like I was willing to die. I was willing to go to that level or whatever it is, knowing that the odds of dying are actually really small. I mean, sure, some people die and some people, might have some serious injuries that come from buds and subsequent training. It's still a really tiny, tiny fraction of the candidates that go through. So kind of relying on that, a little bit of statistics, a little bit of math, and a little bit of this idea that, well, if I'm willing to die, there's kind of really nothing that can stop me, is there? I mean, I'm only going to die. That's the only way I'm leaving this thing. Of course, when everything really hits the fan, sometimes that idea, is not as strong as you thought it was. So I used another concept where I keep as many rounds of ammo in sort of my mental ammo magazine that I could possibly have in there. So every single time something like, well, I don't really want to disappoint my family by making that phone call, right? At some point you tell yourself, you know what, they'll love me no matter what. And so you got to have another round. So you have another reason. Well, I don't want to be the guy that has to call his girlfriend to come pick him up. And you say, well, you know what, she breaks up with me, whatever, right? And so on and so forth until you've exhausted all 30 rounds of your magazine, perhaps, right? But you got to have that. So those two concepts, right? I'm willing to die, and I've got all of these reasons why I can't let myself quit this, right? Or I can't get myself to a space where I think that I need to quit. But then on a more practical level, I literally would divide my day up into minutes. And I would do everything I could to count every single minute up until the next evolution or until the current evolution would be done. So if we're carrying logs on our shoulders, we're carrying this giant log down the beach and we're up and down berms and in the water freezing, exhausted. Any chance I had, I would look for an instructor and I'd look at his watch. I would figure out what time it is. And then I calculate, hey, this evolution can only last 66 more minutes. There's no way it can go any longer than that because they have to feed us breakfast. So I know it'll only be that long. And I spend every minute of calculating down. Right. And then I would use math and figure out the percentages. So I'd say, all right, if there's 66 minutes, then we just did 6 more minutes, which that knocks off 10%. So now we're down to 90% left, and then gradually decrease it until I'm like, okay, I think we're right around 7% left of this evolution, and did that all day long until we finished. We ate dinner and went to bed, and started over the next day.
So how was Hell Week for you?
Hell Week was, I mean, it was just it's really, Buds and Hell Week is everything I think you could possibly imagine. It's all the excitement, it's all the thrill. It's all the great challenges that you've imagined and read about. It's also all the misery. It's all the pain. It's every challenging every concept that you've ever had about why you're there, what you're doing, what your purpose in life. I mean, it really is a place where you get to forge the level of person that you decide that you want to be, right?
Right.
In a very acute way. And there's nowhere to go. You either have to endure it or they will kindly ask you to go home.
And how close were you to ringing that bell?
There was one time that I felt like I was close. There were many times where I really hated what I was doing. There were a lot of times that it was enjoyable and it was fun to just kind of take a beating like that. Or I should say to endure and come out the other side of it. Right? To me, that was kind of what I enjoyed more than anything, was the realization that, wow, I just made it through what most men will never even think about experiencing. And here I am on the other side, so that's a really nice feeling. But there was one time on Wednesday when we take our nap, and I had I had just laid down, and they make this little makeshift tent in the middle of the day, and they sit you down, and I watched all my buddies falling asleep, and I held off falling asleep because I knew they were just going to wake me up in an hour or so, and I'd feel worse. But after a few minutes, I couldn't get up, so I just pissed myself laying in this cot, and I thought, wow, that feels really warm. And the next thing I remember being woken up, right? So I fell asleep. They're waking me up. My body's so sore. I got chafing across all my legs, inside my groin, my armpits, back, everywhere. Pretty much cloth touches. I was rubbed raw, and they're sending us over the berm back to the Pacific Ocean. And I remember, the ocean's on the other side of me, and I'm walking up over the berm, and I could just gradually see the ocean revealing itself to me, all that salty, cold water. And that was the one moment where I really contemplated quitting. I thought, God, I really do not want to get back in that water. I almost didn't. But frankly, it was looking to my left and right, and I just saw so many other guys, the same thing. We were barely even walking. It was so slow. It was this, it wasn't even a bud shuffle. I was moving 1 inch at a time, and so were everybody else. But yet they just went in and got in the water, and once you were wet and cold again, it was back to kind of business as usual. So, that kept me going. Right, look to your left, look to your right. Everybody's still there with you. Let's go. Let's finish this thing.
And you made it. So when you were on the teams, what was your job? What did you do?
I started out as a breacher. So I did a deployment, and then I came back and went to breacher school, became a lead breacher, and then a couple deployments as a breacher with SEAL Team 1.
And anybody that watches this that doesn't know what a breacher is.
So breacher is just finding any form of entry into a facility, over a wall, through doors, through windows. Sometimes explosives, not always. We use mechanicals, chainsaws, quickie saws, torches, right? So if we're on a ship or something's metal, we may use some torch systems. Of course, explosives is kind of what we all know about. But most of the time, I'm in there with a little tiny lockpick. There's nothing too fancy about it. You're just like, oh, that was easy, and you're in. Or you maybe you kick the door. No matter what, you get the breacher up, and that's what happens, right? You get a breacher up call, and you come running, and then you sort it out and figure it out, how to get in and get the whole team in.
So one of the obviously one of the things that military guys do is we make a lot of sacrifices to do what we did for our country. How many deployments did you go on?
3
deployments. And how long were you in the Navy?
9 years, 9.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know I haven't said it yet, but thanks for your service.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you for your service too.
It was an honor.
Yes.
I met a SEAL last year. He's an active duty guy, real big guy at the Patriot Project ball in Canton, Ohio. But anyway, I went up to him and I said, "Hey, thanks for your service." And I never heard this before, but he told me his response was, "You're worth it." And I just remember walking away going, "Man, I hope so." But I hope I'm worth it.
That's a beautiful response. I love that response.
Yeah.
That's great.
You know what though? But there are a lot of people that aren't worth it, but I just hope that I live up to that whatever he's doing for me, I hope I'm worth it. So
yes, you are worth it, Joe. You're doing awesome stuff. I really do appreciate, just this conversation, and to have this recorded. And I'm excited for other vets, for other people to just get an insight and see and feel and observe, what we as military members went through, how we think about all of this stuff. That, to me, that you're worth it. That is very much what um, when I think about why I did everything, it's like I did it because I love America and I love the country that we have. I didn't make America. I'm in the process of, continuing to create a beautiful America, but it was created and it's built and it's put together and it's held together by all the civilians. It's everybody that's out here. So, we did this. We joined. We made the sacrifices, so to speak, because everybody has created a fantastic place to live,
Right.
something worth fighting for, something worth sacrificing. So, is it a sacrifice? I don't know. We gave up a lot of things to do what we did, but we gained a lot of things as well, right?
Right.
So I don't know how much I consider it, so to speak, a sacrifice. But I mean, I understand we had to let a lot of things go in order for us to have a whole lot of wonderful things come in.
Right.
So we have a great place. We have a great country.
We do. So SEALs have a reputation. Obviously, they're the baddest guys on the planet, but you guys are also big pranksters. I mean, is there any funny pranks you guys did on each other to pass the time? Anything you can share, I should say.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things I'll probably just keep to ourselves, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of funny stories. I mean, I remember we were having a good time in Germany, and I think there was five other guys with me, and we were out, and one of my good buddies was, he was talking about how tough he is. He's this Tennessee Chattanooga boy, little Southern drawl, and he's drinking these German beers, and he was talking about how tough he is and how tough America is, and he's eating and he's eating a bratwurst, and he sucks this chunk of bratwurst down his throat, starts coughing and choking, and we're right in the middle of this bar restaurant patio in downtown in Germany, and our other buddy, he's looking at him, and our other buddy goes, he got himself in this mess. He's going to get himself out. And some lady, this German lady's looking like she wants to give him the Heimlich maneuver. And he goes, oh no, he's going to get himself out of this mess. And so he just starts giving himself the Heimlich maneuver on the table. A chunk of bratwurst.
That's crazy.
We all just sat there and looked at him like, all right, I guess he's going to get himself out of this. And he did.
I saw I think it was in American Sniper, the guy with the bullseye on his back, and he took a dart right to the back.
Yeah.
You remember that scene?
Yes.
And then I guess he's a real SEAL. He wasn't an actor.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, that's what made me think of that. I'm like, man.
Yeah. I know it's kind of it's a pretty hard way of life. It's a tough way of life, but it's a fun one, and we all felt and thought similar to that. Just like, you know what, he's gonna be okay. We'll let him take care of himself on this one. We're just gonna sit back and laugh and watch.
Speaking of American Sniper and even Lone Survivor, what do you think of those movies?
I find I enjoy all of them. I think they're great. It's important to understand that they're out to make a buck. It's Hollywood. They're gonna do it in a way that everyone makes money. And I think at the same time, there's lots of folks in all industries, but even in Hollywood and entertainment industry that have great respect, and will do everything they can to honor veterans and their service and what they've gone through and how they've done it, and do it in a very respectful way. Which I thought most of those movies, and media of different sorts, they do a pretty decent job of that.
Yeah.
How accurate is everything? Knows.
Yeah.
But you kind of ask yourself, like, who really cares?
Right.
It's important to have some accuracy, but it's designed to tell a fantastic story of a fantastic life. Just people doing extraordinary things at extraordinary times, and ultimately, it's an inspiration. and in a lot of ways, it's just, how can we signal that inspiration in other people? I'm happy to have my story or even a friend of mine's story told and watch it light up in somebody else's eyes. There's honestly nothing better than that. Watch
Mhm.
somebody else's eyes light up because of something that maybe I've done or a story that I've told, right? Or even just, they to see somebody else take their lives to an entirely new level. What else is there?
Mhm. And we met at the Chris Kyle Gala. Did you know Chris when you were in?
No, I had met him one time. He was kind of, he was just the enigmatic rock star that passed by. Um, so he just kind of floated past our platoon at one time on the West Coast. I was a really young guy though when that happened. I was probably just a few months at the SEAL teams when I had that experience. I did end up, training and working with several guys that were in those platoons and worked with them. So guys with, similar experience, and so I learned a lot from that group, that generation of team guys. They developed. I mean, the stuff that they experienced and went through pretty much developed the tactics that we had began to be trained on. And the modern era of tactics come from that era, right? Jocko's and Leif Babins and Chris Kyle and so on. There's many others too, but those guys are kind of in the media, so their names are all well known. So
I saw Marcus Luttrell came to Cleveland.
sure, those guys too.
Yeah, I can't remember what year. It must have been like 2018 or 2019, something like that. He did the Patriot tour, and
Mm-hmm.
he brought Goggins with him, and a couple other people. And Taya came, and so Marcus was talking about the whole experience, and he said that the Navy or the military, they were going to write a book anyway, so he
Yeah,
wanted to be part of it. And same with the movie, they were going to do it, so he wanted to make sure it was authentic, at least as much as possible. I'm obviously
yeah,
they Hollywoodized it, but
yeah.
man, I'll tell you what, I've read the book, I saw the movie, but hearing him tell the story, I mean, nobody said a word the entire time he was talking.
Wow,
So,
wow.
but but yeah, and the whole premise of the tour was, if you think you've had a bad day, wait till you hear these people. And when I met Taya, it was probably a year after Chris was killed.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Same, same. I know, I know. I think about that. I mean, that experience. Oh God, what a painful, horrible, horrible experience. Uh, wow. Yeah, the
yeah,
things that she's done coming out of that and working through that, and I still talk to her. I I know that it's a process and it takes a long time. There's a lot of grieving. It's a painful thing to lose somebody very close to you. That I mean, that was an amazing man too. On top of it, he was just a fantastic human being, and it was so young, and life was, life was just beginning again.
yeah,
And then have it happen like that. Taya's a really tough woman, quite a warrior.
yeah. I hope his kids are doing okay. She posted something about their son, and I was like, oh man, he looks like a man now. So,
He does.
having to grow up, with what happened, it's pretty tragic.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's gonna either break him or it's gonna make him one powerful, strong, wonderful human being. So, I'm guessing it's gonna be the latter.
Right. Well, we lost 2 SEALs recently, on a mission. I mean, trying to board a craft like that has to be really, really difficult in
Hmm.
those conditions.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Imagine just you and your small craft, maybe an 11-meter sort of rib, attempting to board, a
Mhm.
couple hundred meter long vessel. Um, and you may be fighting 6, 8, 10 foot seas at night on night vision and a dark sea, and it's only you out there and there's nothing else out there. Very terrifying. I mean, it's one of the most challenging, dangerous, scary things I think that you can do as a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
Attempting to hook a caving ladder with a painter pole and a grappling hook on the deck of a boat that's maybe 12, 15, 20 feet above your head. It's a scary, hard thing to do.
Well,
And it just
no, go ahead.
it's you're always comparing and deciding how much flotation I want to wear in something like this, right? Everything adds inches, everything adds size, everything makes it a little bit more difficult. If my chest plate is here, and I got to hold on to this caving ladder, it's a lot easier to do right here than it is to do right here. But I'm wearing 60 pounds of body armor and gear, so I may need that much flotation to honestly neutralize that buoyancy. So, but you'd make decisions. You
Right.
decide, and I don't know if that's the case. I don't know what happened exactly. I don't know the details of it, but those are the decisions that you make out there in the real world. Deciding, do I want to be slicker? Do I want to be faster? Or do I want to be more buoyant today? And so it's just a scary, scary, crazy thing that those decisions have to be made, and we're out there doing those things. And once you end up in the water, if you're not buoyant, you are. There's no yelling for help. There's no, you're not signaling. You're not doing anything. You're fighting to stay above the water because that 12 extra pounds of weight is a whole lot of weight on you, and sometimes it's probably more than that.
Yeah. What? I know I heard a couple of things that said, especially a few days afterwards, they said if there's anybody that can be out there in that water still swimming after 3, 4 days, it's a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
So I know they waited as long as they could before they called it off.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was probably the only chance that they were just out there still swimming and swimming, and they could be out there a long time, I think.
And I know
Longer than 3 or 4 days. They'd survive for a very long time.
Mhm. And I know a SEAL on the West Coast, and I reached out and I said, hey, if there's any fundraisers for the family or you need anything, I would be happy to donate, as many of my flags to help raise money if they needed it. So,
Yeah. What
man,
they
my heart.
said.
Well, he said that he couldn't say anything, but if they need anything, he appreciates that my offer is there and they'll take me up on it. So,
So
yeah.
what foundations do you work with? You donate with each flag you donate, which I have one of your flags right here.
Yeah, looks good back there.
It looks pretty good there. I thought so too. So you donate a percentage of every flag that you sell to what was it? The
Well,
Patriot Project.
so for this year, any flag I sell, I'm gonna give $10 to Tunnel to Towers, because what they do for our veterans, especially homeless veterans, is amazing. But usually, what I do is I donate a flag. Like in March, there's something here in Ohio called NEOPAT, Northeast Ohio Patriot Project. I'm donating a 3-foot wavy flag, and they're going to raffle it off. So it'll probably raise $2, 3, $4,000, and every penny goes to Neopat. Now, last year, I told Marcus Luttrell that I would donate a flag to the Lone Survivor Foundation, and I was invited to the gala in Houston. And because everything's bigger in Texas, I donated a 4-foot flag. Every penny went to Lone Survivor. So I've reached out to Taya, but I haven't done anything with the Chris Kyle Foundation since 2019. But there's the Patriot Project. And again, usually I'm just donating my flag and then they try to raise as much money as possible. The Patriot Project is really cool. because the VA never used to have never offered chiropractic care to veterans.
Okay.
And a guy by the name of Dr. Novelli in Canton, he took it upon himself to say, hey, if these veterans need chiropractic care, I'll bring them to Canton and give them the care that they need. Well, um, when I talked to Shiloh Harris, Shiloh said he was on the verge of suicide, and he met Dr. Novelli, and Dr. Novelli fixed him what was wrong with him physically, and he was able to take care of what was going on psychologically at the same time. And so I seek out charities that are big in the veteran community. So Dr. Novelli, I'm a huge fan of his. But there's a guy locally. He opened it's almost like a food pantry. It's called Serving Area Military. It's the Sam Center, and these people go and they give them free food. So anytime he needs a flag, I give him one. But I
Yeah.
also work with Cleveland American Veterans Association. Um, Gosh, I do so many that I try to work with. But when it comes to the veterans and the veteran organizations, I will never say no. It's rare that I say no. Let me say I shouldn't say never. It is rare if I don't give one of my flags to a charity. I get people requesting all the time, and I don't even charge shipping. If somebody needs one for a fundraiser, you know last month, Moms for America, which is a really awesome patriotic company or charity, they had their biggest fundraiser of the year, and one of the big donors asked me if I would donate a flag, and I did. And he said, well, hey, why don't you come down to Florida? The fundraiser is at Mar-a-Lago. And I'm like, an invitation to Mar-a-Lago? Yeah, I'm going.
Heck yeah.
So I was down at Mar-a-Lago last month for their biggest fundraiser of the year. And you know uh, again, it's to help out, promoting patriotism. So I'm pretty proud that I can do that, and it for me, it's like I'm still serving.
Yeah.
So, but and
Yeah.
and the same goes for you. If you ever need anything, or God forbid somebody gets hurt, or there's a fundraiser or something, and pick up the phone and call me. Hey, I need a flag.
Yeah. Okay.
Done.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Will do. How many flags do you make a year?
oh, probably a couple of hundred.
Really?
Yeah, I have so much fun doing it, man.
Good.
It's for me, it's been an amazing, it's 8 years. It's been a fun ride doing
Oh,
this. I've been
yeah.
having a blast
Yeah.
meeting, I get to meet people like you, and the cool thing, I mean, no anybody that knows you will know this, but your nickname was the humble hero. And SEALs are the quiet professionals, right? They go
Yeah.
about their business and they don't brag and they don't talk about it, they just do it. So getting you to want to talk to you, tell your story, for me, it's friggin' awesome, because I figured, I got a 50-50 chance that he'll want to do it. But especially I think the majority of the people that are going to see this, they're veterans or patriots anyway, and they're going to love that you did this. So I appreciate this so much.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. It took some time for me to decide that I thought wanted to really share the story.
Mhm.
And I think it is mostly as an attempt to inspire, for sure veterans and I know what the transition process out of the service looks like, how challenging it is, how scary it is, how unguided and undirected we are so often, and then how uncertain we feel about all kinds of things. And I kind of hope, personally, I hope that it inspires people to dream big, veterans to dream big.
Mhm.
I almost went to a D3 school in Wisconsin, and that was kind of what I was originally looking at. And uh, fortunately, I kind of had some guidance from a few people. One of them was Dave Goggins, was one of my chiefs in Great Lakes, and he helped kind of guide me towards Northwestern as an option. And then, of course, we ended up being able to speak with Coach Fitzgerald, and Fitzgerald was like, "Yeah, hell yeah," And so I went from planning to go to a nice college and get a great degree, and maybe even try to play ball there, to now here I am with Coach Fitzgerald. I'm in his office, and he's asking me, please come and play on his team with it. It's like sometimes you just got to have that little bit of encouragement, right? Or somebody that can see a slightly bigger potential, right? Which we all have that, but sometimes life can be hard and scary, and it can kind of beat us down a little bit, to the point where we think, well, maybe there's nothing better for me here.
Right.
I'm just gonna do this, when there's a lot of really cool, amazing things that we all can do, and they're definitely available to us.
So that's the cool thing too that I was fascinated with when I listened to you tell your story. You transitioned from the Navy and you decided you're going to go to college, um, and not just a community college. You decided you're going to go to Northwestern, which is, like you
Yeah.
said, it's a D1 school, and then you want to play football for a D1 college. So we have a mutual friend you played with at Northwestern, and this is where I don't have any Hollywood producers watching this, but this should be a movie as far as I'm concerned. But so you walk on at Northwestern. What was that? I guess compared to Buds, that must have been like, day camp. But what was that like?
It wasn't. It was really a wild experience. It was just this. I mean, it was challenging in different ways, right? I hadn't even taken any college courses since 2001, right? So now here we are, 2014. I hadn't played football since the previous century. My last high school football game was in 1999, and so now I'm walking on it in 2014, 15 years later, at Northwestern. So there were a lot of things I had to figure out how to overcome. I didn't even have an SAT score, so they wanted an SAT. So I had to remember how to do geometry and algebra and trigonometry and calculus. This was all things that I had to study, and eventually pass the SATs, and had to get letters of recommendation. Had to write all kinds of different things that would get me through the uh, to get into even get into Northwestern. So then I had to remember how to play football again, which was a long process as well. Um, so I mean, it was a difficult. I mean, it was fun. It was a great challenge, and I enjoyed figuring out how to make it happen. Which that's what it took, was imagining ways in which I could do this, and then gradually working towards one after another. All the academic standards, all the physical standards. Who do I need to talk to? How do I get in front of Coach Fitzgerald? How do I, so on and so forth, right? And then eventually get my acceptance letter. And I still remember, because my high school transcripts, I think I had maybe like a B, one B, a C, a D, and maybe D minus or something like that was my high school senior transcript. So they looked at my transcripts, and I remember the recruiter at Northwestern recruiter saying, "There's no way you're getting in." And I said, "We just wait and see, won't we?" And so it was an exciting moment to be able to send him my acceptance letter and say, "All right, man, I'm in. I'm at Northwestern." And and then Coach Fitzgerald, then they say, "Okay, well, when can you make it down here and get suited up?" Uh, right? And that was an experience, right? Going down and becoming part of the team, and being sized and measured, and they, getting multiple helmets ready for me, multiple sets of shoulder pads, getting all my gear, getting a locker, have my name on a locker, right? All of that was just another wonderful experience. That, had I kind of accepted my initial thought coming out of the Navy that, hey, I'm just going to go to this local school and get my degree and just carry on with my life, that would never have happened, or most likely wouldn't have happened. But I had to have a little bit, a bigger vision, and I had to have a couple of people kind of support me along that way. Right?
Mhm.
Most people didn't think it was a good idea. Most of my family, most of my friends, They thought that it didn't seem like a very logical plan. But yeah, I had a couple of important people in my life that played key roles that, they looked at me and said, I think you got this, man. Let's do it. Let's see what can happen.
That's friggin' awesome. I mean, so our mutual friend Danny, he was a fullback. Well, I guess he was considered a super back.
Super.
And I watched a lot of his highlight videos over the years as I've known him. And you guys played in a lot of really big games. Any of your most memorable games you played in? I mean,
Sure.
D1 football is not like D3 football.
Nope. To that note, 2015, we were 5-0. We were ranked 13 in the nation. We were the number 2 defense in the nation. Michigan was the number 1 defense in the nation. Michigan was 5-0, and we rolled in to the big house. And that was one of the biggest games. I mean, that's where I really genuinely understood. Holy smokes, these Division I athletes are freaks. Northwestern, we're not known for our gargantuan size, right? We win in a lot of different ways, but probably not just through pure, giganticism like some of these other teams. But when you walk in and you see a team like Michigan, I remember standing on the opposite side of the field. Right? There's a little bit of a crown to the field, right? And then they're on the other side, and we walk down to pregame and warm up. I remember looking across the field, and I remember thinking, like, there must be some kind of optical illusion in this field. These guys were the biggest human beings you'd ever seen, and they were so fast and athletic. It was terrifying. For me, it was terrifying. I didn't say anything, I kind of had to just kind of be the tough guy out there, and I gave the pregame speech and everything, and we went out there and we got our butts.
Well, you also played in the Outback Bowl in 2016 against Tennessee. What was that like?
And that was another experience where you see the SEC and you realize, wow, there is something going on here, because these guys were the same way. I played only special teams in that game, but I played on kickoff and kick return a couple of times, and just watching some of these athletes come at me, I thought, this guy is going to run me over. I actually might not survive this play, but you get in front of the guy, and I got to experience what, an eventual NFL player looked like and felt like, to play against. It was pretty, really, really amazing experience overall. But those were 2 huge games. Another one that comes to mind is our game against Notre Dame, 2014. We went in. We hadn't played Notre Dame since 1995 when Coach Fitzgerald played them. That was a year he All-American, and they went to the Rose Bowl that year. And then here we are, 19 years later, playing, in South Bend, only under Coach Fitzgerald this time, and going into that stadium, and we win in an overtime victory. I mean, that was a fully packed house. That stadium, people were falling out the sides of it. It was so full. And I had about 30 family members there. I'm from Indiana, so I had all these people there. It was just a really great experience, that game.
That place is iconic with those gold helmets, and that's actually on my bucket list one of these days, to go there and see a game, maybe when Navy goes or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great experience. It's such a cool place.
So did you get a chance to lay anybody out when you're on special teams or on defense?
I got laid out so many times. No, yeah, I got to hit some guys pretty hard. It was a fun experience, yes. And there were some big collisions many times.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw that Josh Dobbs was the quarterback at Tennessee in the Outback Bowl. So he's still trying winning games in the NFL. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was great to see. I was really glad to see that. He had a fun, he had a really fun few weeks. I'll give him that.
Yeah. Yeah, he played on what? I
some
think
magical
4 games
weeks
this year.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So do you and Danny do much together?
We haven't in quite some time. Life gets in the way, and we're not terribly far from each other. He's got a young family. He just
Mhm.
has this beautiful young family that he's raising and growing. And I mean, they're really active and busy, and they do a lot of things. So we talk every once in a while. Just catch up real quick. I talked to his brother as well. He's got a younger brother that played at Northwestern with us. So that's just one of those families that I connected with. We connected really quickly, and we just, I had a opportunity to be a linebacker with his brother Tommy Vitale, the younger brother, and so we spent time as linebackers in the linebacker room, training, working out together, watching film, and then I actually was a super back for a little while as well. So I spent time in the super back room with Danny and training and working out and watching film with those guys. So I got a lot of time with the Vitales, and I got to know them, their family, their parents, their sisters, everybody pretty well.
Yeah, Danny is really patriotic, and I think that's what drew me to wanting to get to know him. And when I reached out to him, just knowing that you still there?
Yeah, I
Okay,
am.
good. Our
I think
screen
we're
looks like your
frozen a
screen's
little
frozen.
bit.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that I wanted to get to know Danny, at least introduce myself because of how patriotic he was and why he wore the number 40. In fact, my son went on to play football and also wore the number 40 because of Danny and also because of Pat Tillman, which I thought was pretty amazing.
Mm,
Um, so I'm raising a little patriot too, but yet
yeah.
Danny, great guy, and I reached out to him to see if he'd want to come on and and just have a conversation about everything, especially
Yeah.
football since we're in the playoff season. But and he said he would, so I'm excited to talk to him again. But
Great.
man, what a super guy! Like you said, his whole family is you know, amazing. And his parents, their hearts have to be so full. They
Mhm.
just keep having kids and marriages
Yes.
and yeah,
I bet.
I love that I got to meet both of his parents and his mother-in-law and of course Danny. He's always treated me like he's known me my whole life or his whole life and not, just some weird old veteran. But having a Navy SEAL on the football team while he was playing, man, I'll bet he had to love that, especially on Veterans Day when you ran out with the flag.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's amazing. You know,
That is so good. Look at
eh,
that.
yeah,
Wow,
it's
what a fun experience. God dang, that was great. I mean,
it's
Coach Fitzgerald and that whole staff,
uh-huh.
Dr. Phillips and Shapiro, all of those guys. I mean, they were just so welcoming. They're as patriotic as they come. I mean, they brought us in, and they brought anybody that we wanted in. My family, they flew my entire family down to Florida and to New York City because we were in the Pinstripe Bowl as well, but down to Florida for the Outback Bowl. My kids, my wife, we all flew in the team plane. We got hotel rooms, everything was covered. These guys, no expense was spared. They didn't care. They made sure that everybody was a part of the team, part of the whole process. It was a great, wonderful, patriotic for sure experience.
It's crazy that people are making the word patriotic almost like it's something that it's not. I always say
Yeah,
patriotism is not a dirty word, you know.
yeah, yeah,
To carry a
yeah,
flag on the field is almost considered brave.
yeah.
That drives me nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can understand kind of both sides of that argument. I think it is a little bit unfortunate in some ways. You know, patriot is not just American. It's the idea. It's the idea of America. This
Mhm.
concept of freedom. That's really what America stands for. Yeah, it's a country and it's a geographic location, et cetera. But it's about the idea that we can pursue happiness. We can pursue it any which way that we choose, as long as we don't harm other people. That's a new idea in when it comes to if we look at history in a broad way. This is not something that has been done many times, not successfully, and not for a very long period of time. So America is the idea of absolute freedom. We have the ability to live our lives the way that we choose, right? That's what it's about. That's patriotism, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, sure, it's a country, right? Ultimately, we would love it if everybody lived that way. All around the globe, everybody had that ability. They were free to choose how they want to live their lives, right? But it's not that way all over the world. It's only that way right here and a few other spots, right? So, of course, America becomes this geographic location, but it's really that idea, right? It's that concept. That's the idea that we protect, I believe. That's my opinion, right?
No,
So,
I agree 100%.
call patriotism whatever you'd like. And, of course, it has to do with America because we're the ones that are defending freedom. We are the ones that brought freedom to become a real thing. So, yeah. So, yeah, it's America, but it's really the idea of freedom. That's what patriotism actually stands for.
Right. So tell me about the Ruby Ranch.
I bought the Ruby Ranch as I was transitioning out of the Navy, 2014. So kind of doing the football thing, trying to decide whether I was going to get back into the Navy or not. I bought this little bit of land out here in a land auction. And I decided that I was going to build myself a sanctuary, a place that I could raise my kids, I could raise my family. We could get away from, whatever it is that we needed to get away from and build a life, according to how we wanted to. And then we've just been doing that since. I have a couple of Airbnbs that we provide there now. We have glamping tent setups. We have some camping. We have barn dominiums. We're working now on regenerative farming. That's kind of what I'm looking at. How can we transition, the old soils, the old ways of farming into something that's more sustainable, something that's more healthy, something with less chemicals, less pesticides, less herbicides, right? Growing smaller scale. How can we regrow, what is called regenerate our soil, right? We need to enrichen the soil. And we can do that utilizing what's already there. So we're kind of experimenting with these ideas and how we can do this and kind of course, scale it beyond our family, but ultimately for our family and some of our close friends. So we have access to extremely fresh, extremely, toxin-free foods. Which,
Sounds amazing.
it's just wild to think that we got to think that way now, but we really do. When you start to look at the industries that provide us with our food and our water and our drinks, and you start to realize, well, it's kind of hard to get stuff that's really clean, that's really fresh, that's not exposed to a lot of dangerous stuff. So that's what we're working on at the Ruby Ranch now. That's one of the projects. We also have just started the Wonder Academy, Northwest Indiana. It's a forest school, learner-driven, nature-based school. It'll be 85 to 95% outdoor classrooms. Everything will be done outside. Will be taught in the forest, in the woods. We were, as human beings, I believe we were designed to be outside 95% of the time. Uh, Unfortunately, we spend about 5% of the time outside. And it's the same for our kids. I believe that we were designed to learn through all of our senses and not just our fingertips and our eyes, like most of our
Mhm.
kids now. They do all of their learning like this, like this. All right. We were designed to learn through everything: movement, play, outdoors, breath, air, water, cold. It's all there, meant to be taught. And we don't do that. So we're developing a program in a school that will go open to the public in August of this year. Uh, so we're developing programming now, and we'll be open to the public sometime this summer.
That's awesome. So I don't have a lot of viewers right now, but eventually I hope to. The Airbnb and this stuff, is that open to, I mean, people just can come
Yeah.
rent those? How
Yep.
how does somebody reach you or to rent your Airbnb?
We're on Airbnb. We're on Verbo. We're on HipCamp, which is another platform for kind of camping and RV rental type stuff. So you can find us on any one of those. We're called the Ruby Dooby Doo Ranch, and it's so take a look there. Of course, if they were to get a hold of you, feel free to pass it to me, and and we can get somebody booked set up if they need it.
Well, you're a neighbor, so I'm in Ohio, so I'm gonna come check you out this summer.
Yeah, come on up, come and stay. We'll get you set up and come and stay for a little while.
Heck yeah,
Enjoy and just hang out with.
absolutely, I will.
Yeah, you can take a look at all the different things we're working on. And then last, I'm actually, you said it already, but I'm writing a book. So
Really?
yeah, we're about done with it. It's a fiction novel. It'll be a 3-book novel series. It's called The Breacher's Playbook. And it's going to follow a character, Declan Novak, and he's an ex-Navy SEAL, Northwestern football player, totally fictional character,
Mm.
ex fighter, kind of like the Jake Gyllenhaal character, which I really like that character from the movie, but something like that. And he's ex-Navy SEAL, transitions, out of all of that, and kind of has developed, getting himself set up to just carry on with life, and he gets pulled back in to have to make some tough decisions and make some sacrifices and take some risks in order to help his friends and his friends' kids who have found themselves in a kind of a situation. And then of course it'll gradually carry on to be a little bit of a broader story as the books go on. But that's what we're looking at for right now. And I'm thinking we should be done next month. So hopefully we'll shop around for an agent in the next couple of months. And of course, once we have an agent, then we'll know more about book release and things like that.
Shoot, put me on the list. I want to buy the first when it first comes out. I want to buy them.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'll sign them all up and we'll get them out there. Yeah.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Hey,
we'd love to make it. We'd love to turn it and ultimately make a screenplay and turn it into, it'd be great to turn it into a series or a movie or a set of movies, something like that.
Well, I happen to know somebody in Hollywood that could probably put you in the right direction.
Yeah, I guess that's it. We'll see where it all leads, and whoever can help and point us in a good direction.
Yeah. Hey, I just thought of this real quick. One of my favorite singers, I met him at the Patriot tour with Marcus. Did you ever serve with Pete Scobell?
No.
Okay. Yeah, what an amazing singer he is. He sings some songs. One of the songs he sings, I told my family I want it at my funeral.
Yeah.
It's Hearts I Leave Behind by Pete Scobell. Friggin' amazing singer.
I'll check it out.
But I've taken up enough of your time. I just wanted to ask you one last thing. If anybody was thinking about joining the military, what advice would you give somebody right now?
Um, Go for it, man. Go for it, young man or lady. Um, you know, when you get out, I think that we're getting better at helping veterans transition out. So the resources and all the things that are needed to make a successful transition will be there, hopefully, right? So go and serve, like the call is brewing inside of you. Go and follow it, because I think that I've met many people that wish they would have joined. For whatever reasons they didn't. And when I spend time and I see it in their eyes so often, I can tell when somebody regrets the fact that they didn't actually do it, right? And it doesn't always go well. It doesn't always turn out perfect, but no decision does, right? But if you get the call and you feel the call and you know that call is there, follow it, because it's teaching you as well. Once you get out of the military, or even while you're in, you're going to get other calls for things, and you're going to have to make that choice, right? And you're going to have to do it over and over again. So you might as well get good at listening to the call, right? Something inside of us tells us where we need to go and what we need to do. And I think that certainly something like the military is a big one. It is scary, but you will, you're gonna eventually feel good about it. You're gonna understand what you're doing, and it's gonna be a great decision. So that's what I'd say. Trust yourself. There's a reason why you feel like this is something you should do. You know, it's not an accident. It's not somebody else's idea being put on you. This is your own something inside of you that says this is where you should go. This is something you need to consider. So I'd say please do consider it.
That's awesome advice. Well, listen, this was way better than I expected. Your story is amazing. You're an inspiration to me. And like I said, you know, when I even the letter I wrote to you when I sent you that flag, your story, and we only touched on a small part of it, but thank you for, first of all, telling it in 2019 and then also sharing all this stuff with me today. Even if nobody sees this besides me, man, I'll tell you what, I am so grateful that, you know, you took this time to tell me about who Tom Hruby is. So I really do appreciate that.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for giving me a platform. Thanks for making a platform for all of us veterans to tell our truths, tell our stories.
Yeah.
Wonderful thing.
Yeah, I hope nothing but success for the Ruby Ranch and all the amazing stuff that you're doing there. I had no idea, and the books. So I see a movie. I mean, who wouldn't want to produce this one?
I don't know.
So
I don't know. It'll be fun
I'm
though.
gonna I'm gonna send this video that we made today to my friend Julie Roberts, and I'm not Julie Roberts. I should edit that. Julie Michaels, and
Yes.
I'll bet she.
I swear, dude, when I saw that, I go, why is he interviewing a 20-year-old lady? I thought she looked like she was 20. Then when I heard she was in Roadhouse, I'm like, something's not right here. The timelines are wrong. She looks like she's about 25 years old in the video. I
Yeah,
had to
I'll
go
tell you what,
Google. I had
though.
to be like, there's no way she's only 30. How is this not possible?
Yeah, she was 19 when she made Roadhouse, and she doesn't look
Yeah.
much older than what she did when she made that movie. But I tell you what, her and her husband, they are so patriotic.
Uh-huh.
They were the stunt people for that the show about the SEALs, and they love hiring veterans.
Yeah.
So I don't think she was pulling my leg when she told me if I came out there, she'd find something for me to do. I
Yeah.
believe 100% she would.
Yeah, I bet she would. She sounded like it. She sounded really genuine. I thought she sounded so honest and sweet and thoughtful and kind and very, very genuine. I
Yeah.
absolutely believe that she would do everything that she said, and it is doing everything she said. And she felt that way. And it was a kind of a cool thing how she talked about how wonderful it was to just watch veterans, have an opportunity to take the skills that we have, the way we know how to move, the things we can do, and then put it into, a new job, a new career, a new way of making money.
Yeah.
Which is cool and which is fun.
Yeah. And we had a conversation for probably 20 minutes afterwards, after we recorded. And she is just so genuine about, her love for the military and the freedoms that we have because of the military. And any chance they get, they will use veterans. And man, I'll tell you what, that means so much to me. And she's like, if you know any veteran that wants to come out here, get them in touch with me and I'll find something for them to do. And
Cool.
I mean, that's awesome.
Let's
And
go,
and
man.
I really,
Let's go. Let's go do some work out there.
hell yeah, there's your the person for your movie. But when I wanted to talk to her about the remake of Roadhouse, I really thought she would say that she would hate it. But then when she
Uh-huh.
told me, would it surprise you if I told you the movie we did was a remake? I'm like,
I
huh?
know. That surprised me too. Did you see the trailer though yet for the new one?
Yeah, actually, my daughter just sent it to me, I think yesterday.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
So
just
it
came
looked
out.
pretty good. It
It
looked
looked
pretty
pretty good.
good. I
Yeah.
wasn't, I was all set on not watching it because of my loyalty to the other one, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's, I'm looking forward to seeing it. She changed my mind on that, but that's the thing is I want to have a conversation with people that, you know, not only veterans like us, but also people that have a deep appreciation for veterans. I want this to
Sure.
be a little platform where a veteran could be like, "Hey, that's pretty cool. I didn't realize I could get, go out to California and be in a movie or a TV show
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
writing a
Yep.
book about my experience or
Yeah.
whatever."
Mhm.
So this
Yep.
was this was awesome, and I can't wait to get it out there for I think the 30 people that follow my it's funny because there's 30 people
You
that
gotta
follow
start
my Spotify.
somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Hey, I started this in January, so in a
You had
month
probably had one,
I'm
right?
getting
You
one
had
a
one
day.
in January, yeah,
But
one.
on YouTube, I put the video on YouTube, and you know, there's probably the Julie Michaels video has, I think, like 80 some views. I mean, that's for me, that's an honor that
Yeah.
80 people or whatever wanted to watch something that I put out. And I'm
Yeah.
not an interviewer, I'm not in media. I just want to have a couple of people talking, and this is fun for me, taking an hour and 10 minutes out of my day and
Yeah.
talking this really cool ass story. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this is cool.
So I'm going to be in touch this summer. Like I said before, I'm an empty nester, so I'm gonna want to make a road trip to Indiana and come check out the Ruby Ranch.
Wonderful.
So if I can get a few people that want to, rent the Airbnb or something, anything I
Wonderful.
can do to help. And when your book comes out, maybe we can do another one and try to sell a few books.
Awesome. Wonderful. Yes.
So
Come on
listen,
out. I'll have you at the Ruby Ranch and you'll have a good time.
I appreciate that, and we'll do some cold plunges.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'll get you in the water. Good.
Yeah, all right.
Good.
Well,
We got a great plan.
Well, good deal. Well, Tom, again, thanks a lot for doing this. This means the world to me. And if there's ever anything you need from me, you have every way to contact me. So, if you ever need something for a fundraiser or whatever, don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Okay. Thank you,
Uh,
Joe.
And I'll
Thanks.
talk to you soon. Thank you again. I really appreciate this.
You're welcome.
All right, buddy. Thanks.